if you're running a digital campaign, you would probably look at, what is your cost per acquisition to the number of clicks that you may be incurring through any sort of search ads you're running, and also visits that are coming to your site. And then you can really look at what people are doing on your site and what type of call to actions are working really well. The next thing is to align these KPIs with your revenue goals. When I look at marketing, I really divide it up into just two separate buckets. And so there's one aspect where marketing can directly impact revenue, and then there's another side of it where marketing can be more of an incremental impact. So the incremental impact could be more like incurring lead gen for sales to follow up with, or email subscribers so that marketing can then follow up with them through a nurtured campaign. And then from a direct aspect, this is incredibly obvious, but this is you sign up or you get somebody to come directly to your website to purchase a product or sign up for your service without sales having to follow up at all, and really being able to narrow down those numbers and figure out how marketing's impacted revenue. The next thing is to be incredibly concise on the problem that you're solving. I think this is so incredibly crucial because it's going to help you position and properly message your product and services and your unique selling point to your target audience. Next thing is to know your industry. And so when I say know your industry, there's a lot of different aspects to it. Like you really look at your market opportunity to what your addressable market is, but I like to narrow down to three things. And the first is to understand the competitive landscape. Look at what your competitors are doing and see what they're doing well and what you can do better than them. This is a great place to start, especially if you're trying to figure out what events you should attend. If you know that your competitors are attending a certain amount of events every single year, it'd probably be good for you to attend some of those because your target demographic is probably present at some of those. And so a lot of the clients that I work with, they could be in a bootstrap budget to potentially just wanting, not even knowing which events they should attend. And I really look at consulting them to just ensure that they lay out 3 specific events that they really want to dedicate resources and time and budget to ensure that they have a brand presence there and it's not just their competitors taking advantage of all the opportunities. And then lastly, understand your current industry statistics so that you can set realistic goals is so crucial. So this is such an important way for you to really benchmark success and have your team, and even if you're just an entrepreneur running a solo shop, that could be something that you can take advantage of, is just to understand what are the current industry trends and what's working really well, and how can you benchmark your goals and your success off of that. Now the third thing is to holistically understand your customer base. And I typically look at, asking yourself who your target demographic is, but I break it down into even more steps when I work with my clients. And it's really identifying buyer personas and attributing revenue opportunities to each of those so that you know where they are in the buying cycle, what their purchase journey looks like, so that you can tailor content and specific resources to their buying cycle as a way that you can nurture that relationship, so you're constantly building a relationship versus just trying to get a transactional sale out of that. And then knowing where your customers is so key. So a great example, and the first place that you should probably look, is social media. With the digital sphere, there's so many different forums, there's so many blogs, and so many different social networks. But look at the top social networks right now. Could be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and see what your customers are doing. What are they talking about on each of these networks, so that you can be a part of the conversation, not necessarily to try to sell them on your product or service, but as a way to really just sell them on your knowledge and build a relationship. A great example that I can give you guys is I personally am a huge fan of LinkedIn, especially from a social selling aspect. I utilize InMail and I build my network off of that, and I really hone in on LinkedIn groups as well, so that I can be a part of conversations that people are having that are relevant to their business, and I can provide my knowledge to any sort of solution-oriented stance that can help them take their business to the next level. And the thing is to know what your customer actually cares about. And this is what's going to really help you, as we cover the rest of this webinar, map out content that's specific and tailored to what they really care about so that you can drive them back to targeted landing pages and convert them into marketing qualified leads. So why inbound marketing? I pulled this picture or this image from HubSpot. I don't know if you guys have heard of HubSpot. Some of you may have, but they more recently just hit a $125 million IPO. Their CRO has been known to really build an organization and grow sales by over 6,000%. But I pulled this picture because it's the most digestible way to really look at how the inbound marketing funnel or steps really work. And they kind of start off by saying, okay, you want to attract strangers, or you start with the strangers bucket, but that's almost too broad. And so when I work with clients, I really say, okay, which pond do you want to fish in? Like, where's your target audience? And then helping, the client, or helping, I guess in this case, you would look at your business and start developing blog content around what your target audience would really care about, and doing keyword research to optimize your website with keywords that they are searching for so that you have a higher chance of showing up in search results when they're looking for a solution to their pain points. And then social media, again, I've already kind of mentioned this, but social media is so key to understanding what type of content your target audience actually engages with and how you can take that content and further proliferate it throughout your other social networks. And then once you kind of have that beginning part where you attract these people, you want to drive them down the funnel into targeted landing pages where you have a strong call to action, such that maybe you may be promoting a white paper, an ebook, or like us, a webinar that can drive people to target landing page so that they have one single place to take action. And then once they're in the funnel, they become a marketing qualified lead that you can nurture. You can toss it over to sales as a sales qualified lead once it gets to a certain stage in the buying cycle. And as you get customers, my favorite part is to get promoters. This is where you can really build earned media, and this is word of mouth where you don't have to pay for it. You have raving fans that are talking about your product and service, and you don't have to put any marketing dollars into that. So that's incredibly crucial to really build a holistic funnel with what you're doing. So the first tactical execution that I want to touch upon is search engine optimization. So SEO, traditionally, before Google got really sophisticated with their algorithm, people would just stuff their website with a bunch of keywords, and then they would rank really well. Well, nowadays, SEO is all about high-quality content and ensuring that the content you write actually serves some sort of value to the target audience. There's 97% of companies who have a blog will incur inbound links. And what I mean by that is if you're writing great quality content, there's a high chance that you're going to get influencers who take your content and share it, or even curators who take your content and reshare it on their blog, further driving traffic back to your website. And so this is great for your brand presence and also a chance for you to convert the visitors into leads for your business. The other thing is SEO is so crucial because 75% of users never go past the first page of Google. And so that's why it's so important that you take advantage of best practices and really ensuring that you're optimizing your website for the user intent, not just search engines. From a search engine aspect, it's important that you have the technical aspects of your site optimized, right? Like submitting your sitemap to Google and making sure that your website's easy to read. You can do schema markups so that, and there's structured data so that Google can crawl through your website and know what each of the pages are about. But then more importantly, if you're writing content for the user intent, that gives you a higher probability that people are probably going to click on your result versus the competitors. And then the next thing is keyword research is so key to understanding user intent. So a free tool that has been known to be used by plenty of people out there and businesses is the Google Keyword Tool. So this gives you an idea of the search volumes for keywords that you want to rank for. I really always recommend that my clients try to get sort of the longer tail key terms, just because the broad just makes it so much harder. So a personal example I can give you guys is if I'm optimizing Fastmarkit's website, and I just optimize it with the key term web design. It's so broad that there's probably agencies and companies and entrepreneurs who have been around much longer than we have that are probably going to outrank us because the keyword's so broad and they've grown that domain authority over time. And so I really recommend, really taking that long tail search. You could say something like, web design services in the Denver metro area. So you're geo-targeting that, but then you're making it really specific to the pool of people that you're trying to target. The next part is pay-per-click. So PPC and SEO, in my opinion, and I guess industry opinion, is that they're married and they're extremely happy. And so if you're doing SEO, you want to do PPC. The keyword research you implement with SEO are going to help you from a PPC stance as well, because as you understand search intent, you're going to understand what are the keywords that I need to bid on. And there's a lot of clients that I come across, and they're kind of hesitant to utilize PPC primarily because you actually have to pay, and you're bidding on these keywords, and you're paying to get traffic to your website. But there's such a much more strategic way in which you can go about doing this so that you're not just targeting, kind of goes back to my point about not targeting all the broad key terms, but really looking at the key terms that you know are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, and then bidding on those and seeing what you can do. In addition to that, Google Ads account for 64% of search intent keywords. So again, this is re-emphasizing the fact that people are already searching for these key terms, so it's so important that you have a presence there. And what it also helps is if you are optimized, if you've optimized your website for specific keywords and you pull up from an organic SEO stance, and then you're also bidding on a keyword from a PPC stance, you're owning the entire real estate on the search results page. And so that's so key, because you're then funneling in more people to want to click on your ad. And more importantly, I think one thing that a lot of clients I end up working with that I just encourage them to start off with is bid on your brand name. The last thing you want to do is have a competitor bid on your own brand name, and once somebody searches your brand name, their company comes up, and then a customer ends up clicking on that ad versus being driven back to your website. Again, PPC is the fastest way to drive traffic to your website. So let's say you just redesign your website, or you're throwing up a targeted landing page for a specific service for your business. You can easily just leverage PPC to drive traffic there and use analytical tools like Crazy Egg or Optimizely to really see what people are doing on the site when they get there, and that can help you in terms of improving your website design and helping you understand which messaging and call to action is actually working the best. And then lastly, 85% of marketers focus on landing page conversion. And what I mean by that is I still come across pay-per-click ads where when I click on it, I'm driven directly to the home page rather than a targeted landing page that could have a higher potential to convert traffic. So I recommend for every ad that you write, to drive that traffic back to a targeted landing page. So a good example is if just the example that's here on the screen, if search engine optimization tips is one of them, and I write an ad around that, I want to drive somebody back to a landing page that, let's say, I wrote an ebook on search engine optimization tips, get people to fill out a form, I capture that information, and I can nurture that lead. The third thing is to run webinars. So just like we're doing today, this is a great way to boost lead generation and build thought leadership. There's 61% of B2B companies who run webinars today. And the reason why is because they really do work. This is a great place to interact with people who care about specific topics that you may be talking about or that you're writing about and that you want to present on, to just fill in that educational gap and really teach people how to grow their business. So this is a great place to start, and I highly recommend it. In addition to that, you want to leverage social media. So this, again, with the social media sphere, let alone the digital sphere, it's just so saturated. And my clients that I work with, they typically approach me and they say, I have no idea where to start. There's just so much technology that's available out there, and I just don't know, which one is right for me. So what I really recommend is starting off with at least 3 to 5 social networks that you absolutely know for sure your target audience is on. And that's where you want to have your brand presence. That's where you want to have, be sharing your content and be sharing your knowledge. Primarily because social media has 100% higher lead to close rate than outbound marketing. So this is a great opportunity for you to really bring in those inbound leads by having a presence where your customers are. And then here are 2 different stats I really wanted to point out is 43% of B2B companies acquire customers through social media, while 77% B2C acquire customers through social media. And so, you know, from a B2B stance, and I'm talking about B2B primarily because it's very applicable to my business and, you know, a lot of the people who are on the webinar today, is that this social selling has taken the traditional sales and marketing tactical executions to a different level, right? Now you have the opportunity to really build value with every single touch point, every single conversation that you have with target customers. And so it's so important that you take advantage of that. And then I wanted to pinpoint just some major stats around some of the top 4 social networks that are out there. And this is primarily to just show you guys, this is the market opportunities that you have with these social networks. And now it's up to you to figure out what your addressable market is within each of these social networks and really try to make sure that you have a presence on there and you're building value. And not only that, but then you're driving the traffic that's currently on those social sites back to your website so you have a higher probability of converting them. The 5th thing is email marketing. So email marketing, you know, traditionally it's been very transactional, very hard sale. You know, you cold call somebody, you send them a cold email. You cold call somebody, you send them a cold email. But now, you know, I think it's still very transactional, but more from, hey, let's build some great value here for people. And, you know, there's 77% of B2B companies who really use email marketing to help with customer retention. The monthly newsletters to any sort of content assets that you're creating, this is key for that. And this is how you really continue to build value and remind customers why they've built a relationship with you, why they're paying you for, you know, whatever services or that you're providing them. And then in addition to that, you know, for every dollar spent on email, you're expected to get on average $44 in return. And so this is definitely an avenue that should be considered and should be mapped out properly. I mean, when you look at email marketing now, with all the marketing automation tools that are out there, you know, like HubSpot you look at HubSpot, you look at Marketo, Eloqua, any of those. I mean, they're huge marketing automation tools. But you know, I also use, you know, MailChimp, and I use a tool called Drip. And so what that does is it helps you create a workflows so that you can say, okay, if somebody comes onto my website and they fill out a certain form to either download a white paper or watch my on-demand webinar, I'm going to send them a series of emails that are going to help nurture that relationship and continue serving that them with content that they actually care about and they find extremely valuable. And as you kind of build that over time, it'll build the trust and credibility that you need so that people want to do business with you. Now, 40% of marketers rated email marketing as, you know, all the leads that are generated through that channel are high quality. So this just backs up everything that I was just talking about. It's about not only generating leads, but how do you sustain those leads and nurture them through the life cycle of just being a marketing qualified lead, but then they can then become a sales qualified lead. And then the CTR, this is just a quick tip, but the CTR is much higher when you add the recipient's name in the subject line. And this is just one of the tips, but I always recommend to all my clients that they utilize as many different subject lines as possible so that they can really see which ones are working the best. White papers and guides. And so the great thing about white papers and guides is that they help position your thought leadership and you can position your product without coming across as though you're being too salesy. Typically, white papers and guides, the length is between 2 to 5 pages, and you can promote them through social media or SEM channels like paid search, retargeting, and display advertising. So a great example, and what I love about white papers and guides is you can really take them and repurpose this content. So let's say you write a white paper. You can then take that white paper, dissect it into 3 to 5 different blog posts, and then you then expand that life cycle of the content. And then for guides, this is what we're doing. You'll see later on this webinar. I've taken all the points that I've talked about in this webinar and turned it into just a one-page guide for you guys. It's an inbound marketing checklist that you can utilize and take away with you for free. Ebooks is a little bit different. So ebooks, you're looking at 30-plus pages or more, and what I love so much about ebooks is you have the ability to position yourself and go to somebody or a like-minded individual or company to help them in position that you co-market this ebook together. So, for an example, one of the startups that I worked at, I helped write a 30-page, I think it was actually a 50-page ebook, and then we took that ebook, we packaged it and designed it as nicely as possible, and then we took it to a company that was a little bit bigger than us, and they had a larger fan base, they had a larger audience base as well. They've been in business a lot longer. And so what we did was we said, okay, hey, we would love for you to co-market this ebook with us. We've already written it. We've done all the heavy lifting. All we need is to slap your logo on there. You share it with your audience. We'll share it with ours, and let's just cross-promote this together. And so this is incredibly valuable because not only does it expand your network, but it also gives you more credibility and, again, positions you as a thought leader within your specific niche. And another thing that you can do is you can push for influencer outreach. So influencers, typically, they could be an individual within a large organization, or they could just be one of those one-off, like the pro bloggers, the copy bloggers of the world. And you can reach out to them directly. I wrote this ebook. It aligns with the content that you're constantly pushing out on your blog as well. I'd love it if you could share it. And so that again expands your network. And then within these ebooks, you have the opportunity to also really sell yourself. So rather than just saying, buy from me today, you're able to add in little pages where you can talk about your product and service and what type of solutions you can provide. Now, video marketing. So this is huge. I mean, not only are visuals and images so key now, but so is video marketing. And I kind of I don't know if you guys recognize the gentleman here, but his name is Rand Fishkin. I have this ongoing geeky joke with my colleagues that he's my SEO crush. And it's primarily because, Rand created a company called Moz. Moz was traditionally known as an SEO-specific company. They now evolved into an inbound marketing company. But Rand has been the face of the company. He's created tons and tons of videos. They have, every single Friday, they have what's called Whiteboard Friday video, and they take in suggestions and recommendations from their community and present on and give people tutorials and videos on things that they really want to hear about and learn about. So this is so important. This is a great way to engage with your audience. And it's also another great way to help increase people's understanding of your product and service. And then in addition to that, 80% of users remember video ads that they watch online. So what I love about video marketing is you can create your own videos and then insert your own ads in them as well. And they can pop up as captions, or you could have it run at the beginning. I mean, if you have built the community and you've built those raving fans, this is a great opportunity to do that, because not only are you teaching people about a specific topic that they care about and building value that way, but then you can also promote yourself and not come across as, the cheesy car sales guy. And then I want to just touch upon the fact that YouTube is the #2 search engine, right? Just right behind Google. And this is so key because as you upload your video, there's some people who prefer Vimeo, or they'll just host it themselves, or they'll upload it onto YouTube. I love that about YouTube because you can optimize your video specific to that. And then in addition to that, you're writing out your transcript, which is even better because you have the possibility and the potential of ranking higher for your video. And so this is a great way to just enable people to easily share videos that you present on, and they can embed the YouTube video onto their website and drive inbound links back to yours. Next thing is blogging. So I kind of touched upon this, but what I love so much about blogging is that 80% of the blog visits typically are new, and you can generate 4 times the amount of the leads by posting every single day. And then you can, as long as I always encourage to include visuals and images, because that's the aesthetic appeal is what really starts to grab people. I mean, there's so many different sources out there that everybody's talking about, death to the stock photos because they're just so cheesy. So there's a ton of different services that have emerged, there's startup stock photos now. There's, like I just mentioned, death by the stock photo, and they're coming up with photos that feel a little bit more real versus some cheesy person in a suit posing next to some white erase board. And so the other thing, too, is a tip is that blogs that are published on Thursdays typically get more shares. So what I love about blogging outside of all of these great facts is that you can, again, expand the life cycle of your content by taking multiple blog posts that are similar in topic and turn them into a white paper or even an ebook if you have that many blog posts. Or you can take one popular blog post and turn it into an infographic. This is just so key. I think the number one thing that I really coach my clients on is, look at how, you're mapping out your editorial calendar, but then take it a step further and think about how you can then repurpose this content so that you're not feeling like you're constantly having to write new content. The 10th thing is events. So events, I think traditionally everybody says, okay, events, yeah, we got to go. There's 86% of people who go for sales, 82% for brand awareness, and 72% to promote their product. But, how I look at events and how they've evolved over time is they're just now the offline aspect of social media. So if you connect with people, you connect with companies, or your customers connect with you through social media, encourage them and open up the opportunity to really be present at events so that you put a face to the brand and people are there to really meet you and learn more about your products and services, what you can help them with. I mean, this is incredibly powerful. And then while you're at events, they typically have hashtags that you can take advantage of and you can search for. And this is, again, a great way to generate leads because you can just search the hashtag via Twitter and really see what type of conversations people are having and participate in them, and then you can meet up with people and set aside business appointments while you're at the event. So it's incredibly powerful. Then lastly, this is the inbound marketing checklist that I created for you guys, and you can go to fastmarkit.com/inbound checklist to download your copy. This is a great way to really get you guys started, just a baseline kind of guide that's going to make sure you kind of check all, cross your T's, dot all your I's, and make sure that you're thinking about all of these things moving forward. And so it's sort of those, failing to plan is planning to fail. And so this is a great checklist to use as you're planning out 2015. All right, so I'm going to turn the control and screen right back to Tyler so that, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to get I'd love to answer any of the questions that you guys have.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Suttida. We do have a number of questions actually coming in, which is great. Thank you very much. So we'll get right to it. First question is, how do I know which digital channel to focus most of my budget on?
Sure. So what I really look at is, again, you can narrow it down to 3 to 5 different channels. I know I gave you guys 10 different ways in which you could do it, but look at the top 3 channels that your target audience is already on, and then if you have a certain budget, and it can be small or big, divide up your budget almost evenly across those channels, and then begin testing and seeing which one actually gains the most traction and momentum, and then from there you'll know, okay, I need to take all of my resources and reallocate it to this channel.
All right, great. All right, another one is, how long do I have to wait until I see inbound marketing working?
Sure. So I look at inbound marketing as I do an analogy of diet and exercise. If you want to see the work, if you want to see the results, you have to put in the work, and there is no overnight success. So it's all about continual testing and really taking those results and being data-driven, utilizing analytics to help you make your decisions moving forward.
Okay, great. Okay, another question is, what are some resources I can follow to learn more and stay up to date around inbound marketing?
Fantastic. So I've mentioned this company already in this webinar. I don't work for them, but I'm a huge fan. HubSpot, they have their library resource. It just has a ton of webinars, a ton of white papers, ebooks that you can take advantage of. Moz is another one that I mentioned. Their community blog is huge, and take a look at their Whiteboard Fridays. Search Engine Land is also another great one. Marketing Land is another one, and then there's Social Media Examiner as well.
Okay, great. Another question, does it make sense to focus on spending money on our web page?
I don't think I fully understand that, but I'll try my best to answer that. So it makes sense, I guess, if you're driving traffic to your web page as a way to convert leads, then yes, I would say spend money in driving traffic there. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're following best practices in terms of a design aspect. So, you know, really understanding the psychology behind what people do when they land on a website to a targeted landing page. How do their eyes flow? What are they doing? And then really taking advantage of that analytical data and then turning it into something real that you can just implement on your website.
Okay, great. So when sending email marketing, how important is design, layout, etc.?
So that's incredibly important, and I really recommend that you test that, you know, to see what works best. You know, I would say steer away from having a ton of images, but what's most important is really having valuable content that people are actually going to want to read. And then having a strong CTA so that you can drive people back to a targeted landing page and have something of value that they feel like they'd want to give information to you in return to get, you know, it could be a white paper or an ebook.
Okay, great. Last question is, what are your thoughts on cross-promotional videos? So, you know, video is the main topic, but an ad of a different product or service pops up. Could that take away from the main message?
You know, I think that that's completely okay if it is relevant to, if you're in control and it's relevant to your business and your niche, then I say it's a fantastic route to go. And sometimes you really don't have control over that, but that's why, you know, I'm such a huge fan, again, of saying, you know, analytics should be the #1 key to help you understand, hey, do I really want to spend dollars in positioning my product, in, you know, within this specific channel, especially if it's not giving you a return on investment.
All right. We've had a few requests to put the URL that you spoke about at the end of your presentation in the chat box, or if we could email that out. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I'll just kind of quickly, let me see if I can type it in. All right. I just typed it in, so I think you guys should probably get it. Again, it's just fastmarkit.com/inbound checklist. And Tyler will probably send it via email after the webinar as well.
All right, fantastic. All right, everyone, that concludes our webinar for today. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email Suttida or BBB. Thank you, Suttida, for taking time today to share with us your presentation, and we hope everyone has a great day.
All right, bye-bye, guys.